Good. Right. Okay. Well, look, if we can start the meeting. It seems to be we're live on Facebook. We're certainly live on YouTube. So I think that's got the public participation in there. So we'll start the meeting. I think we start with those members of the public that wanted to speak. I know Steve Patrick asked if he could speak earlier. Can I ask, Lynn Holiday, did you want to speak?
No, I'm just observing.
You're just observing. Okay. All right then. So Steve, would you like to speak?
Yes, that's fine. Is my sound okay?
Yes,
yep.
it is.
Yes, it's all right.
Good. I'd just like to cover some of the key points on this new application, on the new proposal. It's a very big extension. It's a large flat roof area, which is higher than 3 meters. So the area at the rear of the garage is above the gutter line. It's completely out of character. 3 meters high and 3 meters out on the back of the garage has a massive impact on number 14. So it's so close to their property. The two houses are roughly in line. So it's a massive impact, loss of light to their house and garden, especially in the evenings. The bifold doors go completely across the back of the rear of the house extension, which are completely out of character. Also, on the drawings, the chimney stack is removed from the drawings. So if this plan is granted, it would allow them to remove the chimney stack and change the appearance of the house completely. The gym area is very large, having this flat roof extension at the back. It's not necessary to have a separate toilet at the back of the gym when there's already a toilet in the house. This is a large extension at the back, but however, I do believe there is a compromise available here. As it's been stated that the gym is only for private use, I think it's fair to say that a double garage of that size would be adequate for a home gym. So a compromise would be to have the rear extension, but not to have the extension at the back of the garage, which infringes the CNP in terms of its character and design. That's kind of the position I think is a good compromise and a fair compromise based on the size of this extension. I'd like the Parish Council to consider that as an approach. And if minded, could they also please include the caveat about the development control panel, should the officer be minded to approve the rear of the garage extension? Okay, I don't know if anybody, I'm happy to take questions, but thank you very much. Sorry, Phil.
You mute, Phil.
Yeah, sorry, I did mute myself indeed. Well, stop the risk of the picture flicking across.
It's a bit like for the parish.
Right. Now, I think, Steve, you did send a note which has gone to all councillors before this meeting. So I think we're happy with that. You did refer to the neighbour, and what I will do is I'll just show you a redacted copy of that so that everyone can see it. It does make some of the same points. I think this is the one. Yeah. Yeah. Can everyone see that?
That is coming through. Yes.
Yeah. So this is from again a neighbour, and I think it makes the point there about the flat roof on the garage extension which Steve has made, the gutter line, loss of light, and the not meeting the fascia. Right. Anything else before I stop the share, and then we'll move into the main meetings? We don't have any other members of the public wanting to speak.
Just to be clear, that objection is from another neighbour, not myself. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
You're not showing my objection.
Well, I can show yours, but it's quite a lengthy one. Do you want us to show yours, Steve? Or
You could show the diagram. I just hope the councillors have seen the diagram that's on the second page, which shows the square block arrangement at the rear of the garage.
Right, let me just share this then. Is this the one you're drawing my attention to, Steve? Yes. Yes. So, and the square block is if you can see my cursor showing, oh, you can't really, but it's this area running back there, yeah. So that's square there, yeah.
So it's just over 3 meters high, which it's much taller than the existing gutter line of the existing garage.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Right.
Can I just ask something?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Okay, so on the plans that I'm looking at here, you've got your bifold doors, and then the extension to the right of those. Is the loo, is that at the back or the front of the house?
At the back.
At the back. So why do they need double patio doors?
Well, shall we? I can show that to you. Let me just go back now. I think I can show you the. Here it is. Now, if I can zoom in a little bit more. Oops. Well, that's as much as it's going to let me do. Oh, I've only put this one in. Oh no, there you are. On this one, you can see here. So that's the toilet at the back, and then you've got the sort of French window type thing.
On the
here
toilet.
where my cursor is. Yes.
Here, on the first diagram. If that's the toilet, which it says it is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why you need double patio doors into a garage. Anyway, never mind. Sorry.
Well, it's into what will be a home gym. Look, I think, shall we move into the main meeting now, rather than because I think we finished. I think, Steve, nothing else you want to say, have you?
No, that's fine. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Right. So we'll start the main meeting now. We've got apologies for absence. Have we? We know we had it from Dave Hines, who's not available this evening, and yes, George.
Andrew Geary sends his apologies. He's in hospital with his daughter, who's been taken ill.
Oh dear. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. And Ian's the other one, is it?
I've not heard from Ian. I did drop the agenda through last week.
All right.
George, could you pass our best to Andrew?
Yeah.
Yes.
And his daughter.
Please do. Yeah. Any declarations of interest? Right. So we now move on to considering this this application. As I said, I'll just go back for a moment. So we've seen the comments from the two residents, and I was just showing you the actual. I'll put it back up again. Sorry, it's being a bit clunky here. So there we have got the drawings that was on the planning application. I mean, I have to say, I am ever so surprised that this kind of amendment is being allowed to be made without a resubmission. And of course, that's the reason we're having to have an extraordinary meeting, because normally when a major change is made, the case officer asks the applicant to withdraw the application and resubmit, which starts the clock again. Despite them doing that for a relatively minor change on another planning application we've considered recently, on this one, which is a far bigger change, they haven't. So we have to actually get our comments in by, I think, the beginning of next week. Now, this is the third of these applications. If you remember, the first one had an attic dormer at the back of the main house, and that one was withdrawn, and then this one was resubmitted, originally with a window and door that were out of character in place of the garage door at the front, and we objected to that. And it also had a flat roof the whole way. The comments that I would make are firstly that I think if we were to not to object to this, we would certainly want a planning condition that garage door is maintained. What we wouldn't want is for them just to be able to switch that out at a later point, because that would be, back to what they originally submitted. That wouldn't be acceptable. So I think we certainly would want that. We normally, as a parish council, are mostly concerned with the frontage view of properties, anything that can be seen from the public highway. And indeed, that dormer that they requested or applied for was so large it would have actually been seen from the public highway. There is also a CMP about having ridged roofs, sloped roofs rather than flat roofs. But again, that's mostly what we concern ourselves with on the what can be seen from the public highway, and what people have got in their back gardens, for example, whether it's sheds or any other sort of construction. We normally haven't worried too much about that. There are some concerns that were raised in that second residence letter that I showed, well, the second, other than Steve's, the other one, which is really to do with the neighbouring property and the gutters and roof lines. So, it would be possible for, in my view, and subject to discussion, for us to, consider this with some planning conditions. But at this point, rather than continue any further, I think I'll open the floor and see if anyone would like to comment. I can see Russell's hand. Can I stop the share so I can see everybody? Is everyone happy if I stop the share at this point? I can always come back to it.
Yeah.
Right, Russell then.
I'm unhappy about two things. The view from the rear, none of the windows, the new windows, has any relationship at all with the existing windows of the house. We've got a massive bifold door. We've got a plain modern looking door and a plain modern looking window, as well as two roof lights in the roof and three on top of the extension as well, which is totally out of character with the rear of every other house there. The other thing is the garage. Is that the garage door that's there at the moment, or is that a new door that they're putting forward? I'm not sure about that.
I don't know, but I mean, I think there are some styles of garage doors. It's a double garage door, in the same opening, as it were, as far as one can see there.
I think in that case that it should be a if it's a new door, it should be a like for like replacement, or as similar to the existing one as possible.
Okay.
And the other thing is that there have been cases in Milton Keynes where outbuildings and garages have been converted for other uses, not necessarily for gyms, but for like storerooms or something. And then subsequently, the owners of the property have put in to turn that into a dwelling house. So I'm a bit concerned that some way down the line, this garage may become a dwelling house.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments? Kay. You're muted.
I know, it's all right. I've got a funny mouse. You were talking about the extension being visible from far away. The other one, the first one. But in Steve's letter, he says the same thing, that it'll be visible from the Tow Valley, visible from the following 3 public footpaths: Castlethorpe to Cosgrove, Rivertoes footpath, and the footpath adjacent to the Grand Union Canal. Also visible from a large section of the Grand Union Canal towpath, which is on higher ground. And yeah, so I think that letter also says that this extension would have the same problem.
Sorry, are you talking about the bifold doors on the
No,
back of the house, or on the
extension itself, the proposed extension? If you look at the points in Steve's letter, the 4th one down, it says the proposed extension will be visible from the Tow Valley. In fact, it will be visible from the following 3 footpaths, etc. And he talks also about the flat roof, that it's not in keeping with what is already agreed with, about the angle and stuff like that. So I need to look very carefully at that, actually what he's found out about it.
Yeah.
And take that into consideration.
Well, okay. I see you, Russell. Can I just see if anybody else would like to comment, John or Darren?
I'm going to make similar observations to Russell, Chair, but it's been said.
What I was going to say was in response to what Kay said. Probably, if it was more sympathetic to the neighbourhood, it wouldn't look anywhere near it. It would not, in fact, it would look okay. It's just the fact it's so jars with the rest of the whole of Shepperton in its modern design.
Okay. So this is excuse me, I may not have. Oh, I see. So they're actually extending. Yeah. So it's coming forward at that stage there as well. Yeah. Well, I mean, I must say I do normally take a more relaxed view to the what happens at the rear of a property than I do on the frontage. But this is. I mean, to be honest, I wish they hadn't put this forward, because it's absolutely a borderline as to what would have been acceptable, and I think there are other ways in which they could have got the space that they're wanting without doing this.
There has been precedent, Phil. We did refuse a dormer on a house in Bullington End Road because of its modern design, which was out of character with the rest of the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we did object to it, and they dropped their plans to do it.
Chair, covering the point Russell made earlier about converting and then becoming a dwelling, is there no way we can put a clause in to ensure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, well, they would have to apply to make it another dwelling, I believe. I mean, George could advise us.
I believe, Phil, that in the cases I cited, some of those were actually given planning permission. I don't think any of them were in an area of character design, but
yeah.
There is no precedent to stop it if it goes ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the point is that if they wanted to move towards making that into a dwelling with a separate front, then we would object once again, because the character style would require the same pedimented door as in on every other front door in Shepperton Close. But we have to consider the application that's in front of us, not what might happen in the future. Kay?
Well, I was going to say something similar, so probably not relevant then. I just think, what if it didn't become a dwelling but became a business?
Well, I mean, again, they would have to apply for a change of use on that. And we have heard that there are covenants in place there, which, well, I'm not entirely sure of the strengths of those, but I would certainly suggest that, that if it were to go through again, a planning condition on the change of use would be at least a put, even though it's again, you can't really anticipate a future planning application that would be required for that change of use. But we could at least put the marker down in our note. Well, look, I mean, we basically have to come to a decision as to whether we are going to just outright object to this, or whether we're going to agree it and ask for planning conditions. And the planning conditions, and you know, I put a note, or you may have seen that I put a note out, which was basically what I've been through, that the garage door is maintained as a planning condition, that the change of use is protected, and that detailed design consideration is given to the potential loss of light in the adjacent property, and the guttering, and the guttering. There was one other thing as well.
Flat roof?
No, it wasn't that it's a flat roof, because again, we would normally have, and the fascia board,
yeah.
which is not matching. Now, we could either go that route, or I think Russell is proposing a straightforward objection to it. And then we would discuss the grounds of that, which I think are very broadly that the, well, they're sort of, some of them are sort of the same. For example, that the height of the roof at the rear is above the gutter line, that there is loss of light to the neighbouring property, and then a general comment about the lack of consistency with style on the at the rear. So rather than sort of trying to work two options in parallel, I was going to suggest that we took a vote as to whether we wanted to object or approve with conditions, and then go into a bit more detail on either route on that. John, did you want to say something before we went there?
Yes, I did, Chair. Just before we go to that, have we had any communication from the owners of the property themselves, as opposed to through these letters?
Not as far as I'm aware. Well, no is the short answer, no.
So they've not contacted the council or any of us about this?
No.
No, okay.
Not me.
So shall I suggest that we basically just take a vote as to whether we're going to object or whether we're going to go with, ask for planning conditions to be imposed? So first of all, can I ask for all those who would like to see the parish council object, raise their hands, please? Okay. So you're not, all right. And all those who would like to agree with planning conditions. So, all right, agree with planning conditions. All right, we're all sure on this, yeah? All right. In that case, can we then move on to discuss what those planning conditions might be? Now, I did circulate, or rather put on the folder, this suggested response, but we clearly now need to develop this a little bit more. So I do need some comments on this so that Steve can sort of shape it up. I can probably actually type them into this as we go. The first one, I mean, I think the first two paragraphs are fairly straightforward. It then moves into the conditions themselves. There's a planning condition that the garage door frontage is maintained, and we should say that the garage door has got to be of the same style as at present. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A like for like, or as near as possible, I would say.
Well, if I say maintained in the same style, it's probably, yeah.
That's very vague, Phil. You know how people like
Right.
to.
So what do you want? Just in the same style as present?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think even that's a bit vague as well. I think it should be words like for like or as near as possible should be in there.
Well, near as possible, I think, is where you get into trouble. I think if
Right,
it's the same style,
in a like for should be maintained in a like
in a like for like style.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
There cannot be any misinterpretation of that.
Right. Okay.
Chair, is there anything stopping any of the other houses replacing their garage doors with a completely different style should they choose to?
Yeah, well, there's the general one that there's the in the Castle neighbourhood plan. It makes it quite clear that in certain character area 2, and specifically listing Shepperton Close, the style of the houses has got to be maintained because the whole estate has been done in a certain style, and it's not to be, it's got to be adhered to, because otherwise, it actually won design awards in its year.
Is it a conservation area or anything?
No, it's not.
No,
But
it has actually got. It hasn't got permitted development rights. So
what I'm questioning is whether any of the other houses in Shepperton Close would have to get planning permission to change their garage doors.
In the past, as far as I can see from walking round, 2 properties have built in their garages. They've actually done it with a 2-story and a roof extension, so that it actually just looks as if it's, with a centre, instead of a side front door, it's a centre front door with bow windows on either side and windows upstairs as well. And frankly, when you look at them, numbers 11 and 47, which we listed in our last letter of objection, it was really hard to tell that they'd actually been changed. Someone is speaking.
Richard's
iPhone.
Yeah. Richard's iPhone, could you mute, please?
The point I'm trying to make, Chair, is that if the residents of number 10 and number 8 can take off their garage doors and put a completely different style of garage door on without having planning permission, I suspect it's unlikely that the committee would grant that condition because it wouldn't be fair.
No, well, they don't have permitted development rights, so they can't start changing it without going for a planning application. And we would then object under the planning policy within the Castlethorpe neighbourhood plan that requires consistency of design, like materials, like architectural shape, massing, etc. Okay.
That's indeed what we're doing here.
Yeah. Indeed, actually, Steve, we do need to go back and pull out, or I need to tomorrow, go back and pull out the relevant policies in the Castlethorpe neighbourhood plan, as I did the last time we did an objection, and put them in here so that the case officer knows to what we're referring. That's important if everyone's agreement with that.
Agreed.
The second point is simply that a planning condition on not commercial use, as I say, that's more of a place marker because you can't really deal with future planning applications here, but they would have to go for a future planning application. And then this last one is about the overlap of guttering.
Phil, the policy number is 4.4.
Yeah.
BIS 4.
Yeah, but I need to put some words around that, Russell, which I did have in the draft that we submitted on the earlier submission under this application. And I'll just literally do a cut and paste of that into here, if that's all right with everyone. Now, the last one is rather more serious. We ask that planning ensure that detail finishing to the plans addresses these concerns. Now, Steve Patrick has actually said that, and indeed the resident has said that it's 3 meters. So it's actually going to be above the gutter line. And I don't know whether we want to change this so that the height of the flat roofed area is no higher than the gutter line. And whether that would really make a material difference to the neighbour. Again, can I have any comments, please?
Yeah, can I make a point of order there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's tantamount to an objection, such a major condition, if you like. I mean, surely you would need to think whether that's a full objection, because it seems that would be a major change to make.
Well, I mean, we could comment that a height light, well, I don't know whether it would be an objection. I don't know whether George can advise us on that. I mean, you might say where you've got a planning application that a roof height was higher than it should be, and we would want it reduced. Is that an objection or a condition?
In my eyes, that's a condition, but I'm not sure legally where it stands.
Yeah, well, that's where I really want George to help, or Russell seems to know.
The fact is that they've been allowed to make a substantial change without resubmitting the application. So I would say this is a condition rather than an objection.
Okay.
Okay. So we would say, we would ask that the roof height of the flat roof rear extension is no higher than the gutter line, and that planning ensures that detail finishing to the plans address these concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, can I again question your use of the words "we ask that"? Because doesn't that introduce the could and should conundrum again? If you if you delete "we ask that" and say the roof height of the flat roof extension, it should be no higher. Or
sorry, give those words again, Steve.
So delete "we ask that" and say the roof height of a flat roof rear extension should be no higher. That way, I mean, we ask.
How about must be?
Oh yeah, even better if you want to try that.
Yeah,
must be no higher than the gutter line, and the planning ensures that detail finishing to the plans addresses these concerns.
Yeah.
Chair, are we going to raise the point in this that why has this resubmission circumvented the system when it should have been taken back and brought forward again?
No, it's not. I mean, it's
gone beyond.
We could, but I mean, it's
no. It'll get nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question I want to ask, Chair, is none of this actually addresses the completely different contrasting look at the back.
I was going to raise that.
Oh, are you? Okay, fair enough. I'll leave it with you, Ross.
You just raised it, so carry on.
Well, I mean, I think, can I just hear what Darren's got to say, and then we'll come back to that?
I think so. I was just going to say, there's obviously reference in one of the letters we received to the neighbourhood plan about the removal of the chimney stack for one. So whether that's a condition we want to put through just to abide by, I mean, that would probably be submitted as a separate objection anyway, but there's things in there I think they're quite worthy to note.
Yeah, I mean, are we concerned about the removal of a chimney stack?
Yeah, we are, Phil, because the house on the end of the terrace in number 20A, one of the key concerns there was to make that originally came with dummy chimneys on the top, but one of the concerns was that they weren't in keeping with the arrangement of the rest of the chimneys on the rest of the terrace. So yes, every other house in Shepperton does have chimneys on.
Right. So we'd say the chimney stack must be retained.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it must be retained to ensure that the roof line is the same as all the other properties in the in Shepperton Close.
Yeah, similar dwellings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say more than neighbouring dwellings, because at the
Sorry?
No, that's loose. You're right, Russell. That was me, and that was
because
loose.
at the hearing into number 20, the planning officer decided that our policy of consistency of design only it only had to be consistent with the adjacent houses, so that, like, the two houses either side. And in fact, the policy is that it must remain consistent with every other house in the whole of Shepperton, not just neighbouring dwellings.
Russell is correct. I mentioned neighbouring dwellings, but I withdraw that. I think what Russell has said is correct.
I would say with the other dwellings in
Yes,
because every other one does have a chimney stack on it.
All right, you're happy with that now?
Yeah.
Right.
I just don't want a planning officer telling us what something means is not what we think it means.
Yeah. Now, look, if we're going to come now to this point about the rear of the house, I mean, to be honest, you know, I don't think we can ask for that to be changed without moving to an objection. I mean, that really would be quite substantial. Do you not think?
Well, I think it's totally out of character, and I think it contravenes the neighbourhood plan.
Yeah, well, I know you were arguing for an objection, but we have decided to go for conditions.
I would be happy with it if it was more sympathetic, using the same style of windows and doors as the property is at the moment, and all the neighbouring properties.
Yeah, but you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to have a nice outlook onto the into their garden by having these bifold doors. And I've seen that in other houses. Indeed, my son has got them, and it is very nice to be able to you know, to push them open and be able to step into the garden. It's a very nice design feature. I'm just not personally. Normally, I don't worry too much about the rear of properties. It's the view from the public highway, making sure the consistency of the design of the area remains there. Now, I do take the point that Steve Patrick made, that this can be seen at a distance, but I mean, I do think that would be at a distance, and there probably are other changes, you know, or other differences in dwellings in Shepperton Close at the rear, conservatories and so on, which will, you know, be different to that which.
Yes, but they won't be so blatantly different to the other dwellings as this one is, if there are any. I don't know if there are.
Well, obviously you want to do that. Can I ask Darren, John and Kay whether you want to put a condition on there, and indeed how that would be worded?
Chair, can I just clarify the doors in question, the folding doors at the back there, are they part of the extension or part of what the house is now? Is it just taking the back?
Extension.
Yes.
What they've got at the back is they've got a little sloped roof below the first floor windows, sloping out and giving them a you know, extending their sitting room into their garden, which is a perfectly valid thing to do. Lots of people do that to get a bit more room inside their houses. And then they put the bifold doors across the back of that, so that they can sort of literally just sort of step out into the garden. And I mean, I don't think you could reasonably ask for what do you call it, where you've got those, I mean, I've got them on my house, those little crossed windows, you know, white small paned windows. I'm not sure, there's probably a technical term for it, isn't there?
If it's coming out the back, Chair, then that will that affect the neighbours in any way? I don't.
Well, they might, some of the neighbours might be able to see it, but I wouldn't have thought it would be a particular issue. Kay.
I think the objection isn't it to the material that they're going to be made out of, aluminium?
No, the objection is to the style, because it's totally inconsistent with the house itself and the neighbouring houses. It's not an objection to having bifold doors or, you know, French doors at the back. It's just the fact it's ultra modern, as indeed are the windows on the new extensions, the garage as well.
So is there no way of doing what they want, but in a more as you say,
Well, I would be happy if they did that.
Yeah, sympathetic manner.
Sympathetic to the neighbourhood plan.
But what could you possibly ask for? You couldn't ask for the windows in those doors to be of the same style as the main house, because that would give those little crisscross white panes, which would be,
no, you can't.
A, I don't think it would look very nice, and B, it would really obstruct the purpose of them, which is to give a kind of opening out into their garden.
Because on the objection it says aluminium grey doors, so would it make a difference if they were a different material in white or something? That's what I'm asking.
To be honest, I mean, I'll be guided. I personally don't feel very strongly about this, as you can probably guess.
Yeah, I do, as you can probably guess.
Well, I mean, let's just, I mean, to make it easy for you, I would abstain if you want to put vote on a particular condition on this. So whatever the four of you get, what would you like to see that worded there, Russell?
Well, I would like to see something on the lines of the doors and windows of the proposed extension at the rear of the house should be of material and design consistent with paragraph 4, CAS 4 of the neighbourhood plan, which is consistent with the upstairs windows and existing rear door of the house as it is at the moment, something like that.
Yeah, but Russell, I mean, just to be clear, that would mean they'd have to have those small, small little panes. There must be a word for it. I mean, I could draw my curtains. You could see.
I think that, and that basically just absolutely does away with the reason why they're having bifold doors, because the whole point about having bifold doors is to let the light in and then bring the garden, take away that area between the garden and the house. It's to sort of like make them as one.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So,
yeah, no, I don't think it does. Being more sympathetic doesn't mean that. It means that it should be made of wood, traditional material in a traditional design. It doesn't mean to say they have small little panes. We have French doors at the back. Our house is a listed house, so we're restrained by what we can do, also being in a conservation area. But our French doors at the back are consistent with the design of the windows, but on a smaller scale, being doors.
Yeah, but I don't think you can get the structural integrity of bifold doors in wood. I mean, I just don't
what
think
about
you would.
in like UPVC, but
That's worse than aluminium.
no, but you can get wood effect UPVC. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be different again, Kay, because they're all white, the windows on the houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I don't know if you're going to try and object to the bifold doors. I think you've just got to object to the whole development, which
Well, that's what I thought.
To be honestly, I personally think is unreasonable on the back there. I mean, it's something people quite often want to do, to open their houses out at the back, I know it's not in this village, but I've seen it work on on my son's house down in Kingston. And it's fine, but it's at the rear. It doesn't offend the frontage. But I can't actually put together. I can't really imagine, Russell, what it is that you would actually do there, because I think if you had wooden doors, it wouldn't have the structural integrity of these bifolds, because they're very big, heavy doors with a lot of glass in them.
Yes, but do you really need 6 doors? I think there's 6, isn't there?
Well, probably there are, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I wish we'd heard from the people that own the house, but we haven't, so we are where we are. Looking at what we've written so far, I'm very comfortable with all that, and I think all those points are valid and reasonable.
Yes, I do too, but I'm very concerned about this bifold door situation.
Yeah.
Can't you just say that
Because the whole of the it's not just the bifold doors; it's the new door on the back of the garage and the new window.
Yes.
Could you not just say that it needs to be in keeping with Castlethorpe neighbourhood plan?
No, because you've got to actually say what it is that you want to be in keeping. I mean, no, I mean you could say we want to have, as Russell is saying, you want to have wooden doors with the same window design, you know, with small panes within the overall frame, and we could say that, but I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be reasonable, because
I don't think it has to be as restrictive as that. It just needs to look more old-fashioned, you know, more in keeping with the design of the rest of the estate.
How many people can see into their back garden?
Very few, I think, because there's a very tall hedge at the back that runs between there and the and that. Oh, I know, I hesitate to call it waste ground, but it almost seems like that to me. Fields, is it? Right. Look, I think we need to bring this to Russell. Obviously, feels very strongly one way. Although I'm trying to be neutral, I don't think that. Well, you've heard what I've said. I think it really is down to Darren, Kay, and John to say whether you want to try and put another condition in here and try and put that into words that I think would be practical for a case officer to interpret.
Could I ask, Chair, with George, are we trying too hard on this? What we've got before us, I think, is fine. By now going to the back of the building, are we being unreasonable in your view from your planning expertise?
I'm not sure that I have a lot of planning expertise, but I think you're getting into quite difficult areas. I mean, apart from anything else, it's quite difficult to say that you don't object to an application, but then request some conditions. And at the bottom, you're saying that you might object if one of them isn't. I would slightly think that the way you're going at the moment, you would do better to object with valid reasons for objecting, such as not meeting the neighbourhood plan and matching the things, and then say, but we might withdraw our objection if these conditions are made.
I'd agree.
I think you're leaving things too much for the planning officer to interpret about what you're going to be happy with and what you're not. I mean, you may well not get, even if you do object, you may not get all of those planning conditions. If you say what conditions you'd be happy with or happier with, then you're being reasonable and helpful. But I think the line at the bottom about should the case officer be minded to approve without at least number one says to the case officer, well, I can approve it ignoring 2, 3, 4, and potentially 5 if you go to the back of the building.
That's right.
Okay. Well, can I make a suggestion then, and I'll move us to a vote to basically go back on that first thing. So what we have done in the past is we've said we object because it doesn't comply with the CNP, and I can see why, you know, it sort of doesn't in many ways. It is not exactly the way we would like to see these things or this application doing. But we could say we object to it. If the case officer is minded to approve, then we would request these conditions. And if he is minded to approve without at least 1, 3, and 4 above, we would then go to DCP. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. So 1. 1, 3, and 4.
What
above.
about number 2?
Well, not number 2, because you can't put that one on. It's not. And I don't want to go to DCP and argue something that's actually to do with a future planning condition. It's you just can't.
Okay.
I certainly wouldn't speak to that. Right. So I will change this round then, if that's all right. And I'll do this with Steve if everybody is happy with that. Yeah. Can I just now make sure that everyone is going to be in a, can I take a formal show of hands on this? So we're going to object, but if the case officer is minded to approve, then we would ask for these conditions, and then you see the thing in bold at the bottom. Yeah. Right. Is everyone agreed on this? Oh, wait, I can't see everybody.
I'm abstaining on it.
Right, that's fair enough, Russell. You felt very strongly about it. All right, there we go then. So, Steve, you and I can work on that tomorrow and just put it into shape. It needs a little bit.
Yeah, sure, Phil.
Rewording. We won't do that here. Okay. Right. So, just going back now. The next resolution was one just to consider any further actions on the revised neighbourhood plan. And George was asking where we got to on this. And just so that everyone is aware, I mean, basically nowhere. It's very, very disappointing. We had a note from David Blandammer on Friday at about 3:30 in the afternoon. Saying he was going to have a meeting, inviting us to a meeting yesterday, which both Andrew and Neil Homer couldn't make, who we regarded as important for the meeting, and without any papers. And we had asked for a statement of the MKC officer's position on this before we had a meeting, because what's happened is that we produced all these notes, we put all our arguments down in writing to them, and they basically just nodded. They said yes, yes, no, we don't agree with that. We never said that. I mean, it's just, but they've not put anything in writing at all. Worse is David Blandammer put in his note that the officer's position will be in the papers for a delegated decision, which almost implies that they're not intending to send those papers to us. Now, we've said, if you remember, there's a technical point, which is that they needed us to agree to go to referendum because they found that they'd missed that step out in their process. And we said we wouldn't give that confirmation until we had an understanding of the officer's position. And they don't seem to be prepared to do that. We're not prepared to move forward without it. It is a very poor show. We are very confident that they're in breach, or the examiner was in breach of the guidelines that he should have followed, that are set by NPERS, specifically in giving reasons for saying that Gobbies did not meet the standard for recreational use. Now, if you remember, we put in, I don't know how long it was, probably about a 6-page document detailing all the use that was made of the thing. And the examiner just said it doesn't meet the standard. Well, he's not allowed to do that. It's quite clear that he's meant to explain and make clear what his reasons were and why it's not. And furthermore, MKC has got an obligation under, you may remember, under the Nolan principles, to be transparent about what it's doing. You can't just say the examiner says no, and we agree with the examiner, which is basically the position that they're taking. So Andrew is trying to see if he can get hold of the acting head of planning to see if we can have a call with her to try and get a grown-up in the room and see if we can take this forward. Really, that's I think where we've got to. So very, very disappointing position. Very disappointing, and unless I'm missing something, quite unreasonable of MKC. You know, there we are. And I hope, George, that you'll if a meeting is arranged, that you will be able to join it, because you know, Andrew is away quite a lot, and it would be useful to have you there.
I'd like to suggest that George be delegated by us to go and kick ass there, because something needs to be done about it. Just pathetic.
Well, yeah, I don't. I mean, I won't. If I've forgotten his daughter's name now, but if his daughter's in hospital, you know, he won't. I won't pester him. But perhaps if you are talking to him at all about anything, George, you could just say, you know, would he like you to try and contact Tracy Aldworth, or, you know, is he up for doing that at some point? But we do need a grown up in the room. And incidentally, you know, time is going by on this. They originally said they wanted to have a delegated decision on the 23rd of February. They then put it back to the 2nd of March. I think they've got to probably put papers out probably at the end of next week for the 2nd of March delegated decision. Is it 10 days or something like that? And we're saying, well, you can't do that until you've spoken to us, and certainly until we've given our confirmation that you can move forward. If they miss the 2nd of March, the 23rd of March, I think it is the last date for which an election can be called for May the 6th. In other words, I think they'll miss the referendum date, and that puts them into extra cost. Because it costs about 1,500 quid or something to hold a referendum, if it's not being held at the same time as the well, if it's being held separately. It really is. It's a very difficult state of affairs. Anyway, there we go. Anything else from anybody? Otherwise, I think we'll call it a
yeah. Day. Chair, I said about I have a very important arrangement for the 1st of March, and I wondered whether we could maybe put the meeting back by a week that we discussed earlier, or alternatively, I'll give my apologies. I'll pick up I'll write the minutes from the video, and just need to appoint somebody to fulfill the role of proper officer during the meeting, and have it on the 1st of March.
I do appreciate they'll cause a conflict with ward councillors attending Hounslow, and I think it's Stoke Goldington also second Monday of the month now. So there would be a problem there, but as it happens, because of the way the Mondays and bank holidays fall, I think our next meeting won't be until the 12th of April. So given we've had this extraordinary one now, I would feel quite happy postponing to the 8th of March, providing we can get case offer extensions to any future planning applications that are coming in that need, that might have a deadline in that extra week. What do people feel? Are they happy to postpone a week, or would you like to? I can't be the proper officer as well, despite what happened in that other funny.
Well, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. No.
He tried to and got kicked out by somebody who couldn't kick him out.
Yeah, George.
Does it have to be a Monday? Could you not postpone it by a day or two rather than a week? Because it's going to be quite difficult for us to attend 3 parish council meetings all on the same day.
It is, yeah. Let me just go back and have a look at the.
I have tried to reschedule my appointment, but it's an important appointment.
Yeah, no, it's all right, Steve. You needn't go. You Steve and I have discussed this, and he absolutely has to attend. Tuesday is kind of difficult for me, but any other day I can do.
Yep, same as that.
I can't do Wednesday.
We could do Thursday the 4th if. Can everyone check their diaries?
Yeah. Okay on that. If it suits Steve as well, can Steve do the 4th?
Yeah, the 4th. That is the only time and date that I can't make in the entire month.
Yeah.
What, the 1st?
Okay. Well, in that case,
First
and
at
George,
7:30.
you can make the 4th, can you? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Right.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
can make
Let's
the
go
4th
for the
as well.
4th of March then.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Aaron.
make life. I think it would be, particularly given what's happening on the neighbourhood plan. I think it would be better to have ward councillors present if they can be.
Yep.
All right, 4th of March then. Anything else before we close? Lovely. Okay then. Well,
How many have we got looking at us, or is the feed live or dead?
can't hear you, Russell.
I can't see. I can't find it on my iPad. It's not showing up.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks to any residents that have been watching, and we'll see you then on the 4th of March. Right. Good night now.
Good night,
all.
everyone. Good night.
Yes.
Good night, George.
Thank you.